So, first, oh God, if I only knew it. Quote, we need the symbol. We hunger for it. Make light for us. End quote. From where? How can I? Quote, you can grasp it. Upward. Onward. End quote. A phallus? When a ghost says, the symbol, you can grasp it. And your immediate response is, the phallus? Are you hard right now, Carl? If so, it's a little weird. Maybe something side effect of some medicine. This shouldn't be. So now we're going to get to the incense. There's always incense and a beverage for those who don't know the formula. So this incense is called green Tara, and it smells exactly like green Tara. Those of you who are friends of hers and have sat next to her on a long bus ride. No, that's rude, Gwydion. Don't talk like that about bodhisattvas. All right. There was that time. No, that episode's not that great. There was that time Pymander got me to read the Bodhisattva vows. It's here, but it's not very good. I'll just leave it at that. All right. I mean, unless you want to hear those vows. So that's that. That's green Tara. This is also green Tara, right? You can tell the difference between green Tara and the other Taras because her leg, is like she's ready to stand up. The one with her legs fully crossed, with eyes, 7 eyes, 2 on each palm and 2 on the feet, and obviously the normal 2, and then 1 here. That's white Tara, for instance. The red skinned one is red Tara. There's a yellow Tara too. You can find her at the museum in. Am I able to? It starts with a P. It's not Kathmandu, but it starts with a P, and it's south of Kathmandu. There's a Durbar Square in Kathmandu and a Durbar Square in the place that starts with a P that's written right here. That place. If you want to see a statue of Yellow Tara, go there. Okay. I was going to have this green Tara join us, but that would require Editor Edward to do a lot of work. Is there... Yeah. Editor Edward, could you leave her on the screen just like that for the duration of the episode? Thank you, Editor Edward. He's good at that kind of stuff. He's a wizard. Do not look upon how good or how wicked we have been, but only upon the infinite compassion which you have bestowed upon us in Christ. And now you sound like Alex from Clockwork Orange, like trying to weasel his way out of something with the priest in the prison. You know who I'm talking about. Have you seen Clockwork Orange? I don't know if I should recommend it. Anyway, grant forgiveness also to those who have harmed or wronged us, as we forgive them from our hearts. Does that include the Turks, Martin? Because it doesn't sound like it from the way you write about them. Or the Pope. Come on, be nice. God save the Turks and the Pope? Let's hear you say it directly. You're saying everyone, though, so it's interesting to consider. Anyway, they inflict the greatest injury upon themselves by arousing your anger in their actions towards us. Now it sounds like you're victim blaming someone. Like, what were you wearing when he pulled it out? No, I'm sorry. That's terrible. In consideration of these psychological facts, I have reserved the term animus for women exclusively, because to answer a famous question, quote, Mulier non habet animam sed animam, end quote, I don't care enough to Feminine psychology contains an element analogous to the anima of man. All right. Editor Edward, I'm sorry. Could you translate? He forgot to translate this into English. The mulier non habet animam sed animam. Apparently it's Latin for the woman has no soul, but the mind. The interesting thing is Carl Jung seems to be making reference to that as if it were a thing from somewhere. But according to Google, it's a thing from Carl Jung's commentary of The Secret of the Golden Flower. And it's made reference to by various psychological things in various languages. But no earlier source that Google's aware of for that statement. Thank you, Editor Edward. Okay. Primarily, it is not of an affective nature, but is a quasi-intellectual element best described by the word, quote, prejudice, end quote. Prejudice. All right. There's 24 little things growing on these 4 letters, and then each of them have 3 little sprouts, 3 little hairs or grass leaves sticking off of them. Anyway, so this is the name of God, and the name of God is made up of sorrow, pleasure, ruin, strife, rest from strife, conflict, resolution. So it's kind of like, taking that idea that as above, so below almost gets there. You don't necessarily immediately arrive at a non-dual state of consciousness from a statement like as above, so below. You have to contemplate it for a while. But yeah, well, if that's the case, the Emerald Tablet Cliff Notes is true, then we need only look at the below to get an idea of what the above must look like, as it is written in the book of Genesis that mankind is made in the image of God. Right? So, yeah, all these different things. And so, yeah, then there's 2 ways to look at that. One is, that kind of brings down the mystery of God to the level of things like sorrow and rest from strife and pleasure and loss and pleasure. Or does it? Or does it elevate the human experience to its proper divinity? I don't know. Something. These are just some ideas to bounce around with. Well, what are we going to do about that moon? That's what we're asking ourselves here. What are we going to do about that moon? Nothing. By the way, those bugs reminded me of this. We won't play too much of that with the music at the same time, because sometimes they get upset. Oh no, this one was fine. This one, they let me use Devo in their kindness. This is the day my baby gave me a surprise. If you want to see more of things like that, then please feel free to check out We're All Devo. That was probably the beta recording that I watched more than any other beta recording, except for maybe Tron. It is small at midday and fills the skies at midnight. End quote. Oh, your shadow is small at midday and fills the skies at midnight. Mwah! Oh, Carl, bringing us such poetry in such an unlikely place and way. Okay. End quote. You can put that in a meme. Carl Jung meme. A little picture of Carl Jung with his pipe. Your shadow is small at midday. I mean, you can leave out the context that it's a ghost talking to him, but he's hearing it and writing it down. I think if a ghost tells you something and you hear it and write it down, technically, legally speaking, It's yours. You can copyright that. It's one of the many varieties of Tibetan temple incenses that I've got, because I just really like the vibe in those old Tibetan monasteries. I think the first one, I've mentioned it before, the first one I went into was in Nepal! I don't even know. Oh, this is good. I don't even know if they exist in... They must exist in U.S. Right? Maybe not. Yeah, there's a lot of them around India. And, and then in Bhutan, it's basically the same. But there was this whole thing where there was this... I'm going to totally butcher this story, by the way. You know Avalokiteshvara? Also known as Kuan Yin, also known as Kannon. Well, anyway, sometimes he incarnates. The Dalai Lama is supposed to be his incarnation. Anyway, so there was a point in history where there were two people being hailed as the incarnation of Avalokiteshvara at the same time. As you can imagine, that wasn't ideal. So one of them ran away from the army of the other one. Again, I'm butchering the story, I'm sure. I recommend this guy's channel. He does really good deep dives, and he's actually, he knows what he's talking about. I'm just talking out my butt. Anyway, so what was I saying? So there was so one of them went to Bhutan, and they were like, hey, we know your grandfather. You're welcome here. And he's like, hey, let me teach you a few things. Let me get everybody organized. The king will be the only one who wears yellow, and the queen. And then the priest, the head of the religion, will wear orange, I think. And then everybody else wears brown. They wear exactly this style, and this is how we're going to organize the Vajrayana Buddhism. It's basically the same as they do in Tibet. And they were like, cool, rock on, and then they went to war with Tibet. So it's kind of like oversimplified to call the Buddhism in Bhutan Tibetan Buddhism, but also kind of accurate. So that's what's going on in Bhutan, and there's a lot of it, and I highly recommend. The thing is, when you look into it and you're like, what? It's mandatory for me to have a guide, and it's like however much it is now per day? Yes. So you might want to plan a short trip. I think 4 days would be too short. If you can save up for a week, make it more worth it. And it covers ridiculous food. I mean, by ridiculous, I mean like too much food for one person to eat. It's better to go with a group, because if you're alone, I can tell you from experience, then it feels weird to have like a table full of like every kind of meat. But they don't kill in Bhutan, so all the meat was imported from India like that morning or the day before. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, I like the smell. I like the smell in Tibetan temples, and so I have all these different flavors of Tibetan incense. And there you go. That was the point. Now this, on the other hand, I just happened to find myself, Piyu was like, hey, let's go to this hill station. And I was like, cool. And then she was like, there's this other hill station, not far. And so we took a cab, and here's some footage from that, maybe up here, I guess, because I don't want to cover up the Cookie Monster. Anyway, so this is where the first, I don't know, the first rifles, I think they're called, of the Gorkha, I think is what they're called. I mean, it's confusing because there were the Gurkhas. There's Gorkha, it is a city, isn't it, in Nepal. And here's some pictures of me there drinking a Gorkha in Gorkha. Gorkha is also a beer. And then there were the Gurkha, if I'm getting that right, that were the soldiers that had the curvy knives on the tilted hats, and then they fought the British. And so they're still, like, they're Nepali soldiers, so there's this old Nepali, tradition of, like, the guy who became the king that had, it's too many stories. I'm talking too much, but no. So the family that ruled in Kathmandu for a couple hundred years was from Gorkha, and they had the Gurkhas. So they were going up against the British, and so the British were like, they won, but they were like, we like you guys, could you fight for us? And they were like, some of them, I don't know exactly the specifics of how that went down. I'm sure whoever's telling the story will have a bias, but anyway, there ended up being British Gurkhas in India. But then now, if you go to that part of India, you'll find like much celebration. The Gurkhas there are like, yeah, we got the fucking British out, so, but then they're like, okay, so you're Nepali, and they're like, well, we fight for India, like, and it's like, what? So there's Gurkhas in Nepal and in India, and they're all the same, but they're a little different. And it is my fault that you got whipped. I am the one whipping you. It is my hand that drives the nail in, and that's why I'm so sorry, And then he grows up and he's like, you're not respecting the Lord's Prayer enough. Like when you tortured Jesus. There is part of us that looks at what's around us and sees a reflection of what's within us. It's like, I like to create my office here. There's that thing I read, Fama Fraternitatis, years ago on Esoteric Nerd podcast, and it didn't occur to me until I had read the whole thing and heard the whole thing at least 2-3 times that it's basically about the great mystery of a guy's office. Like they found his secret place where he kept all of his mementos from his travels and all of his books that he thought were important, and that kind of thing, and pieced together his life story based on the vault, the original vault of the Adepti. I mean, unless you count the seven-sided tomb of Osiranophris. But anyway, what's the point? The point is your environment. You create your environment. Or if you create your environment, you can create an environment that will have a bouncy back and forthy effect, as they say in science, where, you can make yourself feel better by cleaning your room, basically. Thank you, Jordan Peterson. Persian Sufi poet Hafiz. Dog's love. That's DOG''S. Dog's love. All the crazy boys gather around their female counterpart. Sidebar. Is this one female counterpart for all the crazy boys, or each crazy boy with a different female? Like, I don't know what to visualize at this party. I know there's sofas and Persian rugs, sort of a Persian vibe. Sorry. All the crazy boys gather around their female counterpart when her canine beauty announces to the air, quote, "My body is ready to play its part in this miracle of birth," end quote. All right. I think she's a dog. I think the boys are also dogs. Just a guess. I think she's giving birth. Let's find out. Look what dedicated young men will do for their chance moment of dancing ecstatic on their hind legs. It's not time for birth. It's time for conception. Our desire pulls us to the living world, and we are lost in our desire. Come to the potion of living blood. Drink your fill. I think, was that the dead that just chimed in the middle there? Sometimes you do that when you're doing certain types of invocation. Gods or whatever, you start to talk as the god. In this case, it's the dead. I mean, that line didn't really fit as the invoker of the dead. Our desire pulls us to the living world, and we are lost in our desire. No, I guess that also applies to Carl and whoever else. Come to the potion of the living blood. Drink your fill so that we will be saved from the inextinguishable and unrelenting power of vivid longing for visible, graspable, and present being. Drink from our blood of desire that begets evil, as quarrel, discord, ugliness, violent deeds, and famishment. Take, eat, this is my body. that lives for you. Take, eat, drink. This is my blood, whose desire flows for you. Come, celebrate a Last Supper with me for your redemption and mine. Help me to understand your language, so that I will not stray from you, nor you from me. I need community with you, so that I fall prey neither to the community of the living, nor to my desire and yours. That's quite a pickup line, Carl. I have to remember that. Whose envy is unsatiable, unending, cross out unending, and therefore begets evil. Help me, so that my desire is always directed toward you. Cross out my desire is always directed toward you. Help me, I do not forget that my desire is a sacrificial fire for you. It sounds like he's found like the good parts of Christianity. Now he's on fire with the Spirit and actually doing the shit. You are my community. I live what I can live for the living, but I cannot live the excess of my longing with the living. It belongs to you, you shades. We need your living with us. Be auspicious to us, and open our closed spirit, so that we become blessed with the redeeming light. May it happen thus. Amen. Common misnomer is people will say that philosophy is love of knowledge. No, love of wisdom. Specifically, Sophia, as in the lady from Gnosticism. So, I don't know. Anyway. And in this sense, represented a living enlightenment experience. I always found it interesting that wisdom is personified as a lady as well in the book of Proverbs. Do you have any thoughts about that? The connection between the Greek Sophia and the Hebrew, is it Chokmah? No, I don't know. Let's find out! According to our trusty stone edition of the Tanakh in Mishlei, or Proverbs chapter 8, wisdom, sometimes called Lady Wisdom, is called Chokmah. In the original Hebrew, it's not Lady Chokmah, it's just Chokmah, I think because it's feminine. I don't know, maybe at some point Christians started calling it Lady Wisdom, but as in the famous line, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So in that context, talking about her, she says, she stands, she does all these things. Wisdom does all these things. So, Tree of Life, please. So the gray one over there, next to the white one. Which is interesting, because that's basically mostly associated with the Yod in Yod He Vav He, which is the most fathery part of that patriarchal name. In other words, the Yod is the father, the He is the mother, the Vav is the son, and the second He final is the He final. There's no He final, but in the Tetragrammaton there's a He final. If you Anyway, what am I talking about? So it's very masculine in the context of the Tree of Life, but the word wisdom itself is feminine. I mean, the Sephira called Chokmah is
masculine. It's kind of most associated with God the Father. But the word itself is feminine. It's the word Solomon uses, or whoever wrote Michelet, uses to refer to this woman. So he's in this whole thing. There's the harlot, which don't listen to the harlot. She's standing in the middle of the city telling everybody, come unto me. Listen to Lady Wisdom, or Wisdom. She's standing in the middle saying, come unto me. And it's kind of like, now wait a minute. Why are they both doing the same thing? Why are they both standing in the middle of the city? I mean, that seems like it might get kind of confusing. Like, which lady is it? Is there a way to, like, is there a hair color or something I should keep an eye out for to know the difference? We poor mortals have sought so many gods, and would have to seek them still if he did not enable us to hear him openly tell us in our own language, because you translated it. That's a good one, Martin. That he intends to be our God. How could we ever, in all eternity, thank him enough? I mean, within his own paradigm, within his own egregore, what he's saying makes sense. I would venture in reality. I mean, in my egregore, I mean, in my group think. No, it's not an egregore. It's just my think. To say, like, maybe try another perspective, rather than, how could there's not enough time for me to finish thanking you for being my God, even though I'm a lowly mortal. Like, get in touch with that aspect of yourself, which is God. Get into the Sufis, like, or at least the Catholics. Fuck, got a little weird. Maybe just like, oh, let's get a little weird, and then had a child. That'd be me, who was started with a little weird, never had the opportunity to even effectively pretend to be normal, got over resenting that and embraced the weirdness, then I don't know, you might have a better chance on an individual level of integrating these ideas, but I don't know. Cheers. All right, enough silliness. This is called the fulfillment. Growing acquaintance with the spiritual East should be no more to us than the symbolical expression of the fact that we are entering into connection with the elements in ourselves which are still strange to us. Denial of our own historical premises would be sheer folly, and would be the best way to bring about another deracination. Deracination, Editor Edward? Deracination is the noun form of deracinate, meaning to uproot, or to remove or separate from a native environment or culture, especially to remove the racial or ethnic characteristics or influence from. Thank you. If you learned something today, click like and subscribe. If you haven't already. Only by standing firmly on our own soil. Carl, knock that shit off about the soil, and it's the 1930s where you are. Make sure you're not on the wrong side of history, buddy. I mean, a lot of people like to make connections between you and the guy next door, You there in Switzerland, 1931. If you throw a rock, you can hit the mustache man. Only by standing firmly on our own soil can we assimilate the spirit of the East. I disagree. All right. Keeping it light. 0 to 1. God worships you, man. I mean, man in the Cheech and Chong sense, not in the gender. You know what I mean. God worships you, man. Do you ever think about that? What if God didn't go to church? Then nobody would be worshiping you.